Well, it's Wednesday, March 11th, and once again, we are podcasting from the Press Box on the Right Team Podcast, where we discuss and break down the local and national sports headlines of the day, all right here from our neck of the Piney Woods here in East Texas. I'm David Weaver, host of the Right Team Podcast, and I'm joined today by a very special guest again, making a return to the podcast, Mr. Jack Stallard, the man, the myth, the legend of East Texas sports journalism. Jack, my man, thanks again for stopping by the Press Box this morning.
Yeah, always happy. This is always fun.
I remember the last time we had you, we were having some video trouble, so we didn't get to see your lovely melon there. But it's good that we have you now on camera and folks can see that lovely face you got there.
Yeah, I hope I don't blind anybody with that bald head, but it is what it is. And also, I will be sipping coffee here and there because I'm a journalist. I run on ink and coffee. So
that's a prerequisite to come on my podcast, is to have that coffee going. So just as a reminder to everyone, of course, Jack is the sports editor and has been the sports editor of the Longview News-Journal since they built the building, I think. No, not quite that long, but what are you now? You're approaching 30 years at Longview.
Well, at Longview, I'm in year 28.
You got 40 in the business, right?
40 overall, yeah. About to already started working on football for year 41. So yeah, it's just rolling right along.
Sports writers don't retire; they just kind of fade away at their desk, right?
Exactly. I will not be surprised to, somebody to come tap me on the shoulder at a ball game one of these days, and I won't respond, and they'll say, "Well, that's what we figured."
That's kind of what he wants. On that note, I did kind of want to just to kind of give everyone an idea out there about what your day typically looks like. I know this early in the morning, you're there at the office already. What does your day typically look like, and maybe as compared to when you started 40 years ago, the biggest changes that you see in your daily life there in terms of going to the office and things like that? What are some things that have changed maybe?
Well, it honestly, it fluctuates a lot just because, when I started, you would go in, you would put the, let's just say I started in 1987 as sports editor in Kilgore, and we were an afternoon paper. So I would go in about 5 o'clock in the morning and get that day's paper put out, all the stories written, anything from the night before, get the paper done. Sometimes I was lucky enough to leave at, afternoon when the paper was sent off to the presses. And then I would maybe go get a nap, maybe go play a little golf, do something. And then there was usually a game to cover that night. So, from usually I was 5 in the morning till about 12, and then go catch a game around 6 till 10, and back the next day. And then honestly, I still have days like that. Today there's no games that I'm going to be doing tonight, but typically I will come in, I'll get the paper out. We're not an afternoon paper. We do a lot on, we have an e-edition for tomorrow, and then we have print version 3 days a week, but still it's a newspaper every day. So I will come in. I got here this morning about 6:30. I've been working on some stuff to get in tomorrow's e-edition and get online as quick as I can. I will probably work straight through till about 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock today. So, get me about a good 12-hour day in there with no games tonight. So I'm home. That's almost like a night off, even if I do 12 hours to get that night off. Typical game day, though, if you want to talk about football season or volleyball season, again, same deal. I'll come in, I'll put out the paper. Sometimes I'm lucky enough to go home for a couple hours, but mostly I'm, working right up till game time. Then I go cover a game, and I'm up here till about 1:30 in the morning, and go in and roll into bed and try to get a few winks and get hit it again. But it's fun. It's still fun.
Yeah, and that all goes in to show everyone as to why. Actually, and we've talked about this before, you and I. The idea out there that everything that's out there should be free to read. You're just sitting at home writing all this stuff, and there's nothing that goes into it. Yeah, let's just put it out there and not make any money off of it, right?
Exactly.
That's not the way it works. But I do remember those days my own self. I thought I was in hog heaven with my first job, and it was an afternoon paper in Marshall. And you go in and you're pretty much done. If you don't have anything to do after the paper hits, I mean, hey, go home and take the afternoon off, right?
Absolutely. When I was in Lufkin, I became a big Astros fan because we were hour and a half from the Astrodome, the old Astrodome at the time. I would go in, I'd put out the newspaper, and I would hit the road. I covered probably first 4 or 5 years I was there, I covered probably 60 of their 80 something home games. I put out the paper, and if I didn't have a game that night, I would haul it to Houston, cover the Astros, watch the Astros, and come back. And those were a lot of fun. And I still, again, I try to mix it up here. It's long days, it's crazy days. There's a lot to it, and like I said, people expect you to do it for free. Not everybody. I mean, I got great readers. I hit people all the time. Yesterday in Kilgore, I stopped and checked the mail, and old gentleman walked past me and then turned around and said, "Are you Jack?" and told me how much he liked my columns and everything, and been reading me for years and appreciates it. And I know he subscribes to the paper and has probably for 50 years. And I appreciate all those, and I understand the people that don't want to pay for it. I've never had an issue with somebody telling me. I think I've told you this before. If you tell me you don't want to spend money on my newspaper, I'm okay with that. I don't care. That's up to you. I make those decisions every day. I have to decide what I spend my money on. Do I want to spend it here? I don't mind you not wanting to, but don't tell me you shouldn't have to. That's when bad Jack arrives. Again, you're telling me my work, which is a lot, and the work of a lot of people in this building, professional work is not worth the money. And I'm like, no, don't go there, because bad Jack's coming.
And we don't want to see bad Jack. I don't know if I've ever seen bad Jack.
No.
I don't think I want to. But anyway, let's get into the show. We've got a lot to break down, a lot to look at as we start right here with plenty going on here in East Texas, or as we call it here from the press box, BEASTtexas. And once again, my regular co-host Matt Paul is actually traveling today in this lovely weather, and so Jack is gracious enough to sit in here and give us his time this morning, and we certainly do appreciate that as always. But before we get into our list, we do want to thank our BEASTtexas segment sponsor, Styles Electric, for their support of the Right Team podcast. Proudly serving East Texas from offices in Longview and Mount Pleasant, Styles Electric has delivered reliable professional electrical services for more than 25 years. From school districts and universities to civic organizations and commercial projects across our region, Styles is proud to partner or power the projects that help East Texas grow and thrive. When quality, workmanship, and trusted experience matter, choose Styles Electric, service that speaks for itself. I can read this morning. Okay, as we get started here, I do want to mention, and we've been following, Jack, of course, the basketball playoffs, which are winding up at the end of this week, coming over the next couple of days. But on Thursday, of course, we do have a couple of our East Texas schools that we've been following that have advanced to the state championship games in their respective brackets, and did want to mention those games that are now set for them on Thursday. Leading off, of course, with San Augustine in the 2A D1 championship. The Wolves are 23-5 and taking that record down to San Antonio Thursday evening at 5 o'clock, where they will face Panhandle, which defeated Waco Meyer last night. Panhandle comes into that one. I believe their mascot is the Panthers, and they are 25-6. So San Augustine versus Panhandle tomorrow at 5 o'clock from the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. The other team from our area that we've been following closely is Martins Mill. They're going to take their 34-4 mark against a 38-1 Lipan. That's going to be an exciting contest in prime time tomorrow down in the Dome. 7 o'clock on Thursday for the 2A D2 championship. So good luck to both of those teams from our region here as they go down there and try to bring back some hardware.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's good to see some East Texas teams, at the state tournament. I mean, most people think of East Texas, they think of football, obviously, but we've always seemed to have some good teams. Usually it's the smaller schools, but we always get some representation at the state tournament. That's good to see.
Yeah, and those, of course, the Martins Mill girls were there last week and actually faced Lipan on their side of the bracket and came up a little short. So their boys are going to try to go down there and come back with one. That's going to be that's a heck of a matchup between two smaller schools. But I'm telling you, over there in Martins Mill, they know how to play basketball for sure. And so, again, good luck to those two teams, and we'll follow them and see exactly if they can get the job finished as they go down there. San Augustine's a little bit of a surprise. I mentioned it yesterday on our show that didn't really realize they were moving through the postseason until here they are. I mean, they just kind of popped up and are playing well at the right time of year. So, again, congratulations to them. Let's move on to baseball here. Jack, I'm excited to have you on the show. we're kind of limited in what we can do in terms of covering baseball. I just kind of wanted to, from your vantage point, as you see it a lot deeper than we do usually, at this point in the season, who are some of the teams that you think have kind of marked their territory through the tournament season? We're largely through that and starting district for the most part. Who are some of the teams that have come across your desk and that you've seen that have kind of risen to the top in your mind through this first month or so?
Well, I mean, Spring Hill as the defending state champion in 4A Division II, I guess. Their record isn't great right now. I'd have to look it up to be honest, but they're going to be very good. They've played a really tough tournament schedule, and then last night they defeated Henderson 5-0. Kid named Mason Barnes threw a perfect game, and this was a legit 7-inning, 21 up, 21 down, perfect game. He struck out 15. So their pitching obviously is going to be, and they've got 2 or 3 guys that can sling it. They're going to go deep. I feel like, Carthage is not bad. They're gonna be okay. Tatum, I think, is going to be really good. And Beckville. I think those teams, some of them you hear about all the time, but those teams have really jumped up. Longview, I'm really curious to see what Longview is going to do. They're over right now under first-year coach Robert Ellis. But I see some things coming on. I see some pitching, and that's going to obviously be the key. And this guy's, was a professional pitcher. When he gets that established, and I see some athletes coming in, they got Johnny Hamilton, Lobo quarterbacks playing. They've got some other kids. I think they're going to be okay. Now, I don't know if this year will be their year to do anything, honestly. But they showed a lot last night. They lost to a very good ranked 4A Hudson team, 3-2. And the kid pitched a really good game for the Lobos. So I think they're going to be okay. Coach Ellis obviously knows what he's doing. It's just, he's got to get his stamp on the program and get everybody on the same page. And he's played a tough schedule in doing that. And I think you got to look out for Hallsville. Hallsville's always really, really good. They seem to always have pitching. I don't know, man, they just pluck them out of everywhere over there and can pitch. And this week, my hitter of the week and my pitcher of the week are from Hallsville. So they had a solid week last week. I think, look out for the Bobcats.
Yeah, they did have a good tournament performance this weekend. Of course, they usually do start to round into form by the time they're hosting the Rock Builders Classic over here. And it was, they knocked off Longview. They beat Liberty Ilo, which is ranked number 2 in the polls in 3A. So pretty good weekend for them. And again, they did start their district season last night up in Texarkana. But yeah, good thing for there. What about softball? I mean, we do have some, again, speaking of Hallsville, as of yesterday, ranked number 7 in the state in 5A. But who are some softball teams that you've seen stand out here in the early part of the season?
Well, obviously Hallsville, you just mentioned, but White Oak is very, very good this year. They've had a solid program forever, but I think they're 17-3, 18-3, rolling in district play. I think they beat Sabine last night 19-3. Again, solid all around pitching and defense and hitting. They do it all. I mentioned, we mentioned Spring Hill baseball. Spring Hill softball, they're ranked this year. They've been on a roll. They've got 2 very young pitchers. They got a young lady named Lila Peters. She pitches, but she also, I haven't even looked at last night's box score. They won. They beat. They rallied to beat Carthage 7-6. And a young lady named Josie Gray had a couple of doubles. But Lila Peters this year, heading into district play, she already had 12 homers and 38 RBIs. So yeah, she's just crushing it, little freshman. And but she pitches. And they got another pitcher, Sarah Bell. So they got 2 solid pitchers and a good offense. So I look for them to do some damage this year.
Man, if you got 1, that's great. If you got 2, I mean, you should play deep into May.
Right? Absolutely.
Especially at that level. So yeah, good things coming there. And again, I always will promote our local newspaper. Follow your teams, and know their schedules. I know Jack does a really good job of keeping up with the schedules of the day and things like that. So you'll know when your local team is playing and where they're playing and support them. But it starts every day really knowing exactly where they are, and you can get that out of the Longview News-Journal and other our area newspapers here in the area. So always will encourage that. This is new for us because we haven't had the opportunity on the podcast to really talk much about track meets and track athletes. And if you've been in East Texas for any amount of time, you do know that this is a very heavy track and field area. And Jack, I got to be honest, back in the day when I started, which is a little bit after you. I mean, I was a few years behind you, but man, I missed the true track meet. When I say the true track meet, I'm saying, we would get together at a place and you hold your prelims on Friday, then you come back on Saturday morning and it's an all-day event with packed stands and I kind of miss that. I do know they find a way to get all the events in now in one day usually. But man, there was nothing like a beautiful spring day out at the track on a Saturday covering a track meet. And we've always had great track athletes in this area. Longview, my gosh, is loaded with tracks. That's part of the football off season, I'm pretty sure, as it is most places. But who are some kids that have, and I know you keep up with the best times in the area and best performances, who are some kids who you think may be on a one-way ticket to Austin in May? I do know that I do cover, Kara Sims down in Elysian Fields, who's a Texas signee in distance running and cross country and things like that. But who are some other athletes that have come across that you would encourage us to watch this spring?
Well, I'll be honest, you got me a little bit on actual names on this one because I haven't been to a track meet yet. I mean, it's, the old days we'd go sit at a track meet for, 8 hours and do that. Most of my track coverage right now, until you get to district and area and everything, is getting results and typing them up. So I'm gonna just be honest. I don't know a lot of names. I know programs, and I know I know some people, some things to watch. I know that Longview's got their relays are always strong. I think at the Lobo relays last week they might have. I'll have to double check on it. I know they won at least 2 of the relays, so they're always strong. So you've got programs that do certain, Hallsville's distance, distance runners are usually pretty good, but it seems like their high jumps, their pole vaults are always great. White Oak has a phenomenal program, and Coach Burke's over there. You can always expect some of those kids to go to state. So I apologize for not knowing a lot of names right now. I will as it goes along.
It's still actually a little bit early.
I think the Tommy Miller is this week over in Hallsville. So, we'll know some more names there. And I do hope to start running the ET Elite where I can actually publish the top 10 in every event for boys and girls. Honestly, I just hadn't got around to that yet with trying to finish up basketball and everything else. But track in East Texas, again, if you want to know why a lot of football teams are so good, is because they have good track programs. I mean, there is a direct correlation there, and it's not just you gain the speed and you gain confidence. When you see that you can go up and compete against someone, in the 100 or 200 meters, you want to work harder at that, and then coaches see what you can do. So now you get to touch the football some. So it's all a correlation there. It's a lot of fun.
I jokingly said it was a football off season. And it really is. I mean, but that's not necessarily a bad thing at all. I don't mean that at all. Like I said, there's not a program in our state for sure, really throughout the country that doesn't encourage their athletes to run track if they're not doing anything else. I know you got some kids who play baseball and things like that during this time. But track in and of itself is a great way to obviously keep that competitive juice flowing a little bit and develop your just pure athletic skills. And so it's a very important part of the overall inner workings of an athletic department. And that's why so many coaches encourage their kids who are in athletics. This is not an off season. Go run track, go throw the disc or the shot or something like that. You're constantly working and getting better when you do that. And that's why it makes this, it's kind of a preview of what you can see maybe in the fall in terms of overall athletic ability in your program.
Oh yeah. I've heard coaches tell me, we found kids, we had no idea, what they could do. And then again, you can't hide in track. Usually it's you and 4 or 5, and everybody's watching that event. And so you learn to compete. You learn that, you get a little confidence. You know what you've got to do better to to be able to beat that guy in the fall now, so it's great. I love tracking what it does in East Texas.
We close out our Beast Texas segment this morning with Jack Stallard, our guest host here on from the press box on the Right Team podcast. And I do know that you have a lot more knowledge of Tommy Aldridge. Of course, we mentioned on yesterday's show that Coach Aldridge passed away this week, and of course, a longtime head Lady Lobo basketball coach. Actually started the program, I believe, at Longview. Led him to a state championship in 1984. And I'm going to give you the one memory I have just directly of Coach, and just to kind of get your thoughts on your working with him intimately over the years back in the late. Now, when did he actually retire and step down? I couldn't find that.
2010, 2011, somewhere in
there.
He
was around.
Left Longview and went to Union Grove for about 3 years.
That's right.
Which is where he graduated from. So, yeah, he'd been out of it for a while.
Well, I remember I came back to Marshall in 1995, actually 1996, spring of 96, and went to work at the newspaper there in Marshall, and became sports editor a couple of years later. Of course, during basketball season, back in the day, it was really hard to pick which team to cover, and so you just always went with the home team, whoever was playing at home. So there was one night when Longview came over to play Marshall and girls, and of course Marshall at the time was struggling on the basketball court on the girls' side. The funny thing about that is this particular year and season, I know you know Charlie Farrell, who was the father of all the Farrells over here in Hallsville right now, and including Cody Farrell, who's the athletic director. And when I was talking to Cody earlier on the show a few months ago, we kind of went back over this and talked about his dad. I said, "Yeah," I said, "I knew your dad. He was a coach at Marshall, and when I covered the girls over there." Well, on their best day, back in this day, there was no way they had any hope at all to beat Longview when they would come over there. I mean, it was the Lady Lobos and then everyone else back then under Coach Aldridge. And they were playing, and you can imagine what the game was going like. I mean, it was embarrassing in the second half. The score had gotten out of hand, and I'll never forget this. And I shared this with Cody. I'm sitting there at the press table, and Marshall's bench is on my right, and Longview's down on the left. And Marshall started the game with about 6 or 7 healthy players. All right, they didn't have a full roster. Well, the 3 of them fouled out. And so, I mean, it's either late in the third, going right into the fourth quarter. We still got a lot of game left. And I mean, it's the game's out of hand. They could have quit the game at the time and nobody would have been upset. Well, this last player fouls out and gives Marshall 4 eligible players on the floor. Referee comes over, and it's a Hoosiers moment. Right out of the movie Hoosiers. Comes over to Coach Farrell and says, "Coach, you only got 4 players." And he's like, "My team's on the floor." And he's like, Are you serious?" "Yes, my team's on the floor. Let's play." Well, that was memorable in and of itself. But Coach Aldridge is on the other end, and he's like, "I've got a 40-plus point lead right now. How am I going to do this?" And so I'll never forget, they played the last quarter. Basically, Longview goes into a 4-corner offense and doing everything they can not to score. Marshall may have scored a couple of buckets on their part, but he did everything he could, just refusing to score again because he didn't want to run the score up on a team that was so depleted. And I thought that was a great example of sportsmanship for both coaches. Just kind of the integrity of the game. We're going to keep playing. We're going to play it all the way out, and it's just the way it is. And they both, did their own things that they had to do to make it like that. And so that's my memory up close of Coach Aldridge. I know you have a lot more, but just kind of share with us this morning some other things you may have remembered from your time working with him.
Well, it's funny because I'll be honest with you, Marshall caught a break that night because Tommy Aldridge, that might have been the only time he ever did that. And I don't know why he would do it that doesn't mean I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'll tell you the story. I wrote about it today. I have a column online, and it's in the Longview News-Journal today. The first time I ever met TA, okay, I was sports editor down in Lufkin, And I'd been there a couple of years. They'd played them 4 times during my time down there and beaten them by an average of 36, which, that wasn't horrible. Well, they came down, Longview came down to Lufkin, and I think this was 92. And I wrote about it today, I should know. But anyway, Lufkin beat them. Lufkin snapped, I think it was a 36-game district winning streak for Longview. And as you can imagine, biggest win in Lufkin's history. Well, I thought it would be kind of nice to, have a comment from Coach Aldridge, maybe giving Lufkin a little props there. I walked up to you, this first real conversation I ever had with him, because, again, I was down there. And I reached out to shake his hand and said, hey, Coach, can you say something, on Lufkin's behalf, how well they just played. And I'll never forget, he looked at me square in the eye. He said, we didn't play Lady Lobo basketball. It'll be different when they come to our place. And David, when they went to Lufkin, and I left there going, man, what a jerk. This is the biggest jerk I've ever met. They went to Lufkin. Lufkin beat them by about 12 or so. And I looked it up. I actually looked it up for Longview beat Lufkin the next 29 games that they played. I looked it up over his career. And now I'm sitting there thinking, wow, this is a jerk. Well, then I come up here and I start covering the Lady Lobos. And the first game they beat some team, and I walk up to the coach after to shake his hand. He grabs my hand and he goes, you're not going to ask me about the other team, are you? And so I'm like, okay. And over the years, I started understanding stuff. And then I saw it myself, but then I talked to Megan Leggett. Megan played for TA, and now she coaches at White House. She's doing a great job over there. And she verified what I said. I'll be honest with you, I don't know. There were times that Coach Aldridge probably didn't even know who they were playing after a certain point of the game, and there was times he probably didn't even know the score. Okay? He was so focused on his kids and perfection. And Megan said it just, with what I saw, said he wanted to win practice. He wanted to win pregame. He wanted to win the game. He wanted to win every possession of the game. He was just so uber driven and focused on not just winning, but making sure the Lady Lobos were perfect as they could be. And I saw that over the years. So I never, as soon as I finally saw that and realized that in person, I'm like, he's not trying to run up the score. He didn't care. Honestly, there are times he probably didn't care if they won or lost. Once he got to a certain point, he knew they were going to win. He just wanted to see his team execute every play. He did not want to see a letdown. And I think a lot of that is he was very driven. He was very focused on winning, obviously, very competitive. But I also think, and I'll talk to him later about it, one of the things he's most proud of, he never talked to me about his 900 and something wins. We talked about when he got inducted into the Hall of Fame this past year. He never talked really about that. He always talked about his players and the fact how many went on to college. He sent 65 girls to college. And I can just run down a list and every one of them did good things. And that's what he was proud of. And he knew at that time when he started that Lady Lobo program, it was hard for a girl to get a college scholarship, and it was hard to get coverage for girls. It was hard to get recognition for girls. He wanted those girls to have something special, and that's why he was so focused and driven. And so, I quit thinking he was a jerk and just thought, wow, this guy's a Hall of Fame coach. This guy's a true coach. He wants to win, but he wants it done the right way. So, that's my memory of TA. I mean, just a heck of a.
And I don't mean to infer that he just quit playing. Just, as I recall, it was 30 years ago, but I was just, everything you hear, you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be a record-setting victory for them. And it's not to say that they didn't score a few buckets there in the fourth quarter, but I think he went to the limits that night of what he was comfortable with in terms of, okay, we're going to just get out of here and not, and so, but anyway, that just struck me. That was the first time that I can remember, and even remember actually covering when he was in the gym, and all the years I was in Marshall. But anyway,
well, I guarantee you there was a respect thing going on for Coach Farrell and the way his kids played.
Yes.
And I promise you, he saw what he wanted to see from his girls. He said, okay, we can't play any better today. So let's shut this down. Because again, every possession was a battle for him as far as he was concerned, and that's the way he wanted his girls to approach it. And that's why they won, 25 district championships and had 19 30-win seasons. And, that's the way it is.
we may never see that kind of dominance in our area. Very few places, really. Again, it was a true era of dominance, and again, anyway, rest in peace to Coach. And I know he left a legacy over there that will never be forgotten. So, but anyway, just wanted to kind of get your take on that from your seat there at the LNJ. Let's move on to our on-campus segment, which is presented by East Texas Baptist University, located in Marshall, Texas. ETBU offers a university experience built on academic excellence, nationally known athletics, and a strong foundation of faith and community. It's a place where students are challenged every day to grow, lead, and serve. Learn more about life on the Hill in Marshall at etbu.edu. Okay, Jack, I don't know if you followed our show or heard it at all. Matt's he's our expert on college basketball. I mean, this guy, he's come up with his own bracket, and we unveiled it on Monday. We're anxiously going to compare to see just exactly if his bracketology matches up with what the committee is going to be looking at. It's kind of fascinating for us, and we're just kind of counting down the days until we're able to do that. I kind of already know what you're going to say before I ask this question, because I do read your stuff and been around you so much, but I know that your bracket's already busted, right?
No, it's I don't have a prayer.
But knowing that, who are some teams that you've seen and watching, maybe leaning on your busted bracket leading up to next week that you're going to be watching going into the tournament?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm probably going to jinx my son's team. My son is a Duke fan. He is, and this is not a bandwagon thing. We started doing brackets when he was about 5 and could even figure out what was going on. And I don't know how he got stuck on Duke, but he put Duke down every time, and he's been a Duke fan since. I mean, we don't miss a Duke game if they play. So, obviously, and they're number one now. They're injured. They got some – we were talking about it yesterday. They've got a couple of guys that might miss the whole tournament. And we were talking, and Kyle, he knows the college game probably as well as I do or better. He said he's not going to be upset if they, tank in the first game. They're going to get a high seed anyway in the NCAA tournament. He's like, then if they, they don't. He didn't want them playing 3 games in the ACC tournament. He wants them to get it over with and get into the big show and let some guys rest. Obviously, you got to watch out for them. I've been in the games that I've watched and I've seen. I've been impressed. Been impressed with Texas Tech, even though they lost their star guy. They're still hanging in. There's just some fringe teams out there. BYU, I think you got to look out for. It's kind of the usual suspects. I enjoy this time of year, but right now I would put my $3 that I have to spend. I'd put it on Duke to win it, and again probably just jinxed them, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, and I've told Matt this. He's been rather non-committal. I mean, like I said, you should see the methodology he's used to get there, but it tires me out. But I'm on record as saying I'm putting my eggs in Florida's basket again, and what doesn't go into Florida's basket, I'm putting it in Houston's. So, I just watching those teams all year long. I think they're built for this run coming up. It wouldn't surprise me with Duke. I agree on that one, but those injuries, you can never tell how that's going to affect somebody in a tournament setting. When you go out there and all it takes is one bad day.
Oh yeah.
And and then you're then you become Virginia against Chaminade, right?
Yeah. And we've talked about this before. It's I don't remember the last time we had a team enter the tournament where you just said, oh, they're unbeatable. They're it, and I don't feel that way about Duke. I feel like if they're healthy, they're the best team by far. But how it is this time of year. It's who's healthy. And
right.
And that's, I mean, I've seen it, and they gain momentum. Sometimes you don't even suspect them till they get to the tournament and you realize they're pretty good, and they're really good, and now they're the team to beat. That's what I love about the tournament. It's usually somebody that's just managed to stay healthy, managed to get a little better. And, they'll usually start out the season right here, and they just do this all along,
Peaking at the right time.
I've seen teams start out here and never get better, and they don't win it. So.
Right. More so probably than any other sport. This is the time where that peaking at the right time means more.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the time you want to be playing your best for sure. Kind of moving it in here local a little bit. Of course, ETBU is our segment sponsor. I did want to bring up some goings on this upcoming weekend, actually starting tomorrow, I believe. Actually today, ETBU softball. So they finished, this is their third straight week on the road. They finished last week in the tournament in Columbus, Georgia, went 4-2 in 6 games there, and are now 12-2 on the year, ranked 7th in the country as of yesterday. When the poll came out. But they are playing actually starting this morning at the spring games in Claremont, Florida, where they'll be facing Carthage College this morning. And then they take on Mount Union later today, right around 1 o'clock or so, and that'll close out their first day. Then they come back on Friday against Swarthmore College, William Peace on Friday, and then a couple games on Saturday against Coe and against Lake Forest. Then they finally get to come back home. And for the first time in a month, where they'll be back next Tuesday and face University of Dallas. They're at home, get a week at home or so. So I know those ladies are, of course, ETB is used to it. I mean, 2 national championships in the last 15 years and things like that. But this is what Coach Shirley and I talked early in the season, before the season actually started. And this is kind of where everything's going now in Division III, as far as you have to go find games, especially in the ASC, where they're down to 4 softball playing schools. And so you have to go travel and take on all these tournament games. And they can't get anybody to come to Marshall to play them, which is kind of a, it's kind of those chicken or egg things.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to when you got those two banners hanging out there in the outfield. So anyway, that's what they're looking at here. And I know they'll be glad to get home next week. On that same note, ETBU baseball will be back home this week. The Tigers are 9-6. They come into their weekend series against Lyon College, and we'll be hosting them on Friday at 6 o'clock. And then they'll have a doubleheader on Saturday at 12. Jack, I know Laterno actually, of course, moved to the SCAC this year. Have not really followed them very much. Don't have the time really, but how's it going for them in that new league?
Yeah, obviously, it's an adjustment, and it's a really good league. Right now you're looking at softball. Now I'll be honest, I'm not sure Millsaps. I can't remember if that's a conference game or not, but they split with Millsaps. So softball teams, they're pretty solid. Baseball, I know that they are 9-8 and they're 7-5 in the conference. Just. Again, anytime you make that change, there's an adjustment. You're seeing new people, but I think they're both hanging in. The golf programs are doing well. I'm excited for the new conference. I'm excited for the things going on at Laterno. Building the new air dome. I can't wait.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see that and see what comes of that. And
speaking of Styles Electric, they were intimately involved with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, outstanding. But yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting at Laterno. They're doing some great things over there.
And the real thing I really wanted to talk with you about here as we get down to it, I know I sent you my notes yesterday, and I just kind of put on there randomly, not even thinking or looking at the schedule, TJC, Kilgore, and Panola. Well, lo and behold, today they're actually starting the NJCAA men's basketball region tournament down in Baytown. And I do know that you cover Kilgore in particular. What can you tell us about how that tournament is shaping up? I do believe Kilgore, what seed are they going into that? Are they the 2 seed?
The men or actually they started the men's side yesterday.
Yes, that's correct.
The
women start today.
The women start today. Kilgore is the number 2 seed, the men. And they are it turns out they're going to play the host team now, Lee College. Lee defeated Lamar State last night, 78-62. So Kilgore will get Lee. That's going to be interesting. Kilgore just hammered them when they played at home, and then they went to Lee, and it was a 2-point game. So Lee's always tough to beat down there. And you're the number 2 seed, which is kind of strange. People have been asking me. They ended up as co-champions in the conference with Trinity Valley. Had identical records. They split against each other. But Trinity Valley got the top seed, and everybody's like, well, why did they get the top seed? Well, turns out they go the next tiebreaker is what you did against the next seed, number 3. Mm-hmm. And Trinity Valley swept Tyler, and Kilgore got swept by Tyler. So that's how they end up as the number 2 seed. But I feel like it's going to come down to Kilgore and Trinity Valley. But man, it's such a good conference. You don't know. I mean, yesterday's winners: Paris beat Navarro, Panola beat Coastal Bend. Again, Lee beat Lamar State, and Angelina beat Moser Parish. And I've obviously seen every team in the conference. Been on the road a couple of times, but I saw everybody come to Kilgore. Honestly, and on the men's side, Coastal Bend is probably the worst team, and they hung in with a good Panola team yesterday. So there's no bad teams in this conference on the men's side. It's going to be a battle.
Weeks ago, my daughter's in Apache Bell over at TJC, and we went over there and watched a game, a men's game, when they were dancing at it, and that was they were hosting Coastal Bend, and I would agree with you. Probably they're the worst in the league based on what I saw, and they were pretty. I mean, they weren't bad at all. It's just it just kind of shows you the depth of competition in this JUCO league, and based on what I know, which is very limited, I agree with you. I think probably any of these teams could come out of that and you not be shocked. To be honest, really good basketball teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the women's side, they actually start theirs today. Trinity Valley plays Coastal Bend. Now, when you talk about no bad teams on the Coastal Bend women, they're bad. They're 0 and whatever in the conference and 2-30 or something. They're struggling, but I watch them play. They play hard and they're well coached. To be honest, they just don't have a lot right now, and maybe that'll change eventually. But they're gonna have a tough time against Trinity Valley. Obviously, Blaine and Panola play at 3 today. Kilgore plays Angelina at 6, and Tyler plays Paris at 8. So good matchup on the women's side. And out of that one again, Trinity Valley and Kilgore are top 2 seeds. Kilgore, they split during the regular season, so you just don't know. In this conference, I've covered this conference forever, and it always comes down to somebody you don't really think about. I mean, Trinity Valley is the favorite, always are, but I've seen them lose. So
yeah, and it's kind of just a little interesting thing here to note. I mean, it's I don't know that I've ever seen this where you have identical seeds from the school. I mean, they match on both brackets. I mean, that might be a first.
Yeah.
Jack. 40 years, right?
I'd have to look it up, but yeah, you might be right.
Yeah. So anyway, that's going on both brackets. That's an exciting time, man. When you buy you a ticket in Baytown right now and watch a lot of basketball, women's and men's.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna, I need to get some stuff done here, and I didn't go down last year. It's such a long trip, and I got so much to do up here. But if either Kilgore or Panola teams get in the championship, I'll be down there Saturday to watch some good basketball.
We may have you back to give us a rundown on how things look down there.
Happy to do it.
Let's move on now. Again, I want to thank ETBU for sponsoring our on-campus segment, as always, here on From the Press Box on the Right Team podcast. We've instituted or kind of resurrected a new pro segment on our show here, and we're calling it Moneyball, for lack of a better term. And Jack, prior to about 7 o'clock last night, I just was going to go over the latest signings in NFL free agency, kind of ho-hum. The first day was over, and now we're in the second wave, if you will, of free agent signings. And of course, the Cowboys always find a way to disappoint. Apparently, bust the budget is spending market money on a safety, right? That's about what it was on Monday. But man, did it blow up last night? With the whole Ravens saying no thanks, we're done. We'll ship your damaged goods back to you, Raiders. And man, you talk about, and everybody says, oh well, that's just a deal that goes through. No, that's just not a deal that didn't go through. It has sent shockwaves through just about every professional franchise in the NFL, who are scrambling now as the 4 o'clock deadline approaches. 4 o'clock Eastern deadline approaches to have all these contracts become official, that now nobody has money to pay. You're right. So anyway.
Well, did you see what happened this morning? See, and this just happened right before we went on the air. So, I know you're talking about Max Crosby.
I did see, yes. And I was listening to sports talk out of Dallas this morning, and they were kind of predicting You know, it was going to look really, really fishy if this went down the way it did this morning, in which Trey Hendrickson, of course, is now signed with the Ravens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now here's the deal, Dave. I mean, Max Crosby is the guy. He's the guy everybody wanted. I am not disappointed the Cowboys didn't go all in and get him, because I mean, here's number one. I was worried about the injury. I told my son, we talked about it a lot. I was, because he wanted him for the Bears. He's a Bears fan. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, dude, there's something more there than that injury. I mean, I know he said he wanted to play through it, but I just felt like he was more injured. And the main thing that I think with the Cowboys, they were more than one player away from being legit, and they were going to have to go all in on one guy. And obviously he would help. But if they're going to do that, they would have just kept Micah Parsons. So I'm not disappointed they didn't get Max Crosby. Now I hope the draft turns out a lot better than everybody's. I would love to see them do some moving up, get one, Sonny Styles or Alexander, get somebody, or Bailey. I'm sorry, David Bailey. Get one of those guys and then see what happens there. But I love this time of year. It's the NFL. It's just so much. You can gripe about things and everything. They're so smart with the way they do it, because it's year round now. Yeah, they've turned free agency into a season.
Yes.
Yeah, and people just live and die with free agency like they do real games. It's so much fun. But yeah, the Max Crosby thing, the didn't pass a physical thing. There's some weird stuff going on there.
Yeah, and I see the Cowboys this morning have added have a signing to announce, and that is Jonathan Mingo, one of their own. They signed him for 1 year, $1.1 million. I got to be honest with you, I didn't even know he was a free agent.
Yeah, they're taking care of a few guys that they probably need to keep that they saw can help, but they're the Cowboys. You got to see some splash move eventually. I like some of the things they've done, getting a few pieces and signing a few other dudes, but I don't know. I expect more from Jerry Jones. I expect Jerry to either disappoint me greatly or at least just shock me, and he hadn't done either yet. So we'll see.
Well, I have a theory that I shared, I think yesterday, in my frustration as a Cowboys fan, and that is, I think Jerry is someone's put the reins on him several years ago. He is not the same gambler that he was back in the 90s. And I don't know if it's his son. I don't know if it's someone else in that building that he trusts, but he's not calling all the shots, because this goes completely contrary to what we got in the first 10 to 15 years of his ownership. He's just not acting in the same way. And he's screwed himself the last couple of years with the whole all-in comment, which meant nothing. And then this year it's bust the budget, and they're not busting the budget. And I said this yesterday, if you're going to talk like that, you have to understand you are going to have to spend money that makes you uncomfortable. And right now he's just falling into this thing where he's comfortable. Yeah. He's not comfortable spending money. And I don't know how you can be the owner of the richest franchise in the world and be afraid to spend money. Maybe that's the key. Maybe that's why I don't have money.
Yeah, that's again, and with Jerry, he can't win, because if he does go out and bust the budget and spend on a big, high price free agent and it's a bust, everybody's like, oh, what a dumb GM. That's a typical Jerry GM move. He needs a new GM. He needs a GM. Yeah. And then if he doesn't do it, then he for whatever reason, then Cowboy fans are not happy there. And I'm a Cowboy fan. I understand. I don't know. I mean, bottom line, David, this, winning solves everything. If he has a year where he plays it a little safe, gets some good pieces, and they improve and win, and at least maybe even get to the conference championship game, then all the talking, and then everybody's, wow, that was pretty neat, and we're Cowboy fans, yay. But they got to do something. It's ridiculous to have that much talent that they've had over the years. Jerry's, I think what Jerry's biggest issue to me is that he fell in love with offense and just literally forgot that you got to play defense every once in a while, you know?
Right.
And he just forgot that. And it's just not even a thought. And now he's having to play catch up to try to get a few defensive guys, and we'll see what happens.
Well, and the thing is, they've got the offense. I mean, he's mission accomplished there.
Yeah.
But they're so bad on defense and then neglected that. They're at a point where, hey, you have to be uncomfortable spending some money. And again, it's day 3. It's the beginning of day 3. There's still players out there, and they still got money to spend. And hopefully they will. And who knows? They may circle back and get back into this Max Crosby thing. Look, if the Raiders are willing to take, pennies on the dollar for him, I'm offering maybe a 3rd round pick next year, 4th round pick somewhere, maybe a couple of those things in the future, because now they're not going to get what they want.
Yeah,
what they wanted last week for him. The jig's up on that. So, and the ripple effects we were talking about it, of course, anybody that's been following it knows exactly what we're talking about here, is that everybody's already spent their money. The Raiders have spent money. They do have the cap space to take him back, but it severely hampers their operations going forward with that. And I mean, the next thing to watch today is, any of these free agents who have taken on these deals that become official at 4, are we going to see them back on the market because now teams are moving much stuff around? It's just kind of a fascinating thing that, again, you said it, man. Anytime you think you have the NFL figured out, they come up with some different way of staying in the headlines.
Oh, love it. And again, smart. I don't agree with everything the league does, but man, it's year round now, and they've created a monster with, free agency is a season. The draft is a season. The mini camps are a season. It's literally a year round thing, and money's money, and they're going to figure out how to make that money and get that money, and we're just the suckers that shell it out. So it is what it is.
Yeah, a Twitter doesn't update fast enough for me right now.
Yeah,
it's like give me some more news. I know it's out there, and it's still coming here on day 3, and it'll extend probably into the weekend. We'll see.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, they've certainly cornered the market in their off season, that's for sure. And again, I had a very poorly planned Moneyball segment this morning, folks. But so I'll put down WBC updates. And you saw my notes. Who's next behind the USA and Japan? Well, lo and behold, not so fast, my friend. Team USA now has to have help to make it into the knockout round after last night's debacle. Have you heard the story behind all of that?
I haven't heard it. I mean, I just know the score and I know what has to happen, but no.
Of course, Italy jumped out to an 8-0 lead last night. They held off the USA 8-6. When I first flipped over, and I didn't even have this on my calendar to watch last night. It was USA and Italy, for crying out loud. And we fought world wars against those folks and with those folks. It's like that. Okay, that's the extent of my USA Italy interest. But when I flipped over there and saw the score, and I was just like dumbfounded, and then I look at their lineup, and you don't have Bryce Harper in the lineup. You've set Alex Bregman in the lineup, and you've got you've got a couple other holes there, and it's like, what on earth are we doing? And then I find out that, lo and behold, the freaking manager, who is one of your guys, I know Mark DeRosa, with the Braves, right? But he in his mind, he already thinks they're in the quarterfinals. But again, not so fast, my friend. Get you somebody that can follow all that stuff, because you're not following it as the skipper right now. And then, of course, today it comes out. He had a few guys after the win on Monday night against Mexico, or Tuesday night. No, Monday night. It's Wednesday. That took that win a little bit too hard in the clubhouse and had a little bit too much fun, and we're basically hung over the way he understood it, or explained it. So, man, that is not a good look for Team USA again, and I believe it works out today where Mexico or Italy needs to beat Mexico, and Mexico can't score more than 4 runs or something like that.
Yeah,
Or
it's
the
a
USA
weird
is out. They're
scenario.
done.
Yeah, and Dave, my deal on that, again, I watch it if I think about it, but what you just said is a great example of what it really is. Now, you're going to have guys that take it super seriously. Cal Rayleigh, okay, yeah, that's the kind of dude. If his own brother was on the other team, he'd want to take him out, and yeah. Then you got the other guys. It's a break from spring training. It's a fun little exhibition. Let's go play a few games. So I don't think you have an all-in mentality. And it is what it is. I mean, I get it. I'm competitive. If I'm on the field, I want to win. I just don't think that's the same way. It is for everybody. I'm not saying they don't take it seriously when they're on the field, but again, you win, you go celebrate. You lose, you go drown your sorrows. You don't put in the time, and obviously even the manager didn't put in the time that needed to be because he didn't know the scenarios. So it's fun, it's good, it's fun to watch. It's baseball, but I don't take it too seriously.
And that's the thing. And if I hadn't said so much on this podcast, it really wouldn't bother me. But I've kind of put myself out there a little bit. But it's spring training, and it's not a true picture, particularly in the pitching department, right? I mean, we've got pitchers literally going back to camp who pitched 2 days ago in Tarek Skubal. I mean, and they're not, they're not at a point where they can pitch and go deep into ball games. Or some of these countries and some of these pitchers, this is their World Series, and so they're going. They're throwing 150 pitches out there, and so I do like the World Baseball Classic, and I've said that on this podcast. I love the atmosphere, but it's not a true representation because of the just kind of the weird timing of everything with spring training going on, particularly on the pitching side. But I don't want that to sound like it's an excuse, because yesterday. Team USA was my favorite to win it all, and now they may not make the knockout round, and it bothers me that their manager didn't even know that.
Yeah, I'm the same way, but I'm a typical go USA guy. If they win it, I'm out chanting and running around and happy for them. If they don't, I'm like, it was an exhibition, didn't count. So I'm that kind of fan as far as this part goes. Hey, I'm always going to pull for the red, white, and blue, but I'm not gonna lose sleep if they don't make it or if they don't win it.
Yeah, in 2 weeks from tomorrow, we won't even remember what's going on this week. Exactly. And again, I know that sounds like an excuse, but
I just turned 60, so tomorrow I won't remember what we talked about today. So it's
my whole life's an excuse at this point right now. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, they got to have some help. They need Italy to stay hot and beat Mexico. For sure, because if it gets into a 3-way tie, they go into those runs allowed kind of thing. And right now, Team USA is on the short end of that in a 3-way tie. So interesting stuff going on right now in the world of Moneyball, as we call it here on the Right Team Podcast. We've now come up to this segment on our show which we call the Back Page, which is brought to you by Right Team Services. From professional writing and editing to website content, social media, and grant writing, Right Team Services works with schools, businesses, and nonprofits to communicate their message clearly and effectively. If you need words that work for you, trust Right Team Services to help you find your voice. Learn more today at rightteamservices.net about how we can help you tell your story. Jack, I didn't know if you had anything that you may have seen on the back page that you felt was mentioning. I usually get mine from Twitter, which again, I always put out a disclaimer. If you're not on Twitter, I would advise you not getting on Twitter. It is the most toxic social media form out there. But it is good if you follow the right people for weird little news tidbits every now and then, if it's true, right? You have to always explain that for sure. And I know you're on Twitter and you deal with all of that kind of stuff, mostly from a professional level, but I think you agree with me. It has its disadvantages for sure.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, hey, just one thing that came across last night. I'll write about it probably for I might get it online today, but Chris Davis, you remember Chris Davis, Longview
Yes.
Lobo?
Yes.
Made his debut with the Rangers, and then had a pretty solid little career with the Baltimore Orioles.
Made a lot of money.
Made a lot of money. Still making money. He got one of those Bobby Bonilla contracts. They owe him a lot of money for several more years. But just came across yesterday, Chris Davis is going to go into the Baltimore Orioles Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Be inducted in July. And you look at his numbers. That kid had himself a career. I mean, he was a MVP candidate one year. I think he finished second. He was a starter in the All-Star game. He's way up there on their list of all-time home runs. Now, hey, he might strike out 5 times a game, but he might hit you 3 homers too. So I'm just really proud of that kid. I remember that kid coming into the Longview News-Journal as a senior. He was our All-East-Texas MVP. I mean, he was a big old kid then. Everybody thought, oh, he got on steroids. No, he never did steroids. He was suspended once because he didn't renew a medicine for, I think, ADHD. I tell people, like, get off of that, because I remember the kid in high school. He walked into as a senior and he was a full-grown man. 6'3", 240 in high school. So I debunked that really quickly for that kid. Great kid off the field too, and that's part of the reason he's going into the Oriole Hall of Fame. I mean, his numbers on the field were really good, but he's done so much for that area up there, children's hospitals and different things. Just a great kid all around, on and off the field, and I'm really, really proud of him.
Yeah. So my sons, when we were doing travel ball, can't remember what exact age. It was anywhere from between 10 to 12. We took our little travel team down to a tournament in Round Rock, and Chris was actually with the Express, or playing with the Express. I think it was one of those times he'd either been sent down by the Rangers or he was on an injury rehab kind of deal. But of course, most of the kids we had were from this area, the Longview area and Hallsville area, and so they very well knew Chris Davis from being from Longview. And so we had seats right behind the dugout. And these kids were, it was like a Chris Davis fan club. And he hit a ball probably about as far as ever been hit down there at Dell Diamond. I mean, he turned on a pitch and hit it, out onto the highway. And you'd have thought we had won the World Series. These kids were going nuts, jumping on the dugout and everything. And it was pretty cool. As he crossed his home plate, he just kind of gave that little nod over to the kids and just kind of tipped his cap just a little bit, just enough to, and that even made the kids' day even more. So anyway, it was good to see him. And I was a little bit devastated when the Rangers traded him. I'm not going to lie. I thought they were giving away a good young talent, and it showed when he ended up in Baltimore and what he did there. So
I think they gave up on a little early there.
Yes, they did. Okay, well, just a couple things here on my end. We've had a full slate this morning, so I wanted to keep it somewhat brief. I did want to make mention, of course, last night for basketball fans out there. Of course, I don't know, I haven't really followed this much, but of course, Bam Adebayo scores 83 points, which is the number 2 now, passing Kobe Bryant. I think they were doing some stat padding in that late in the game, which has kind of caused some controversy. But 83 is 83, man. Apparently, the guy shot 43 free throws.
Yeah, you could put me in a gym and lock me in there by myself for 8 hours, and I wouldn't score 83. So
I definitely wouldn't shoot 43 free throws and make many of them for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, 83 points is pretty impressive. I don't care how he got there. But anyway, he passed Kobe Bryant he's now the second most points in a game in NBA history. Of course, number 1 is Wilt the Still, which we mentioned on this show here a few days ago. Another thing here I wanted to point out just briefly, came across on my X feed yesterday, but did you know that Ohio State, look, I don't know where these people are getting this money, and if it's going into academics at all, but Ohio State is now paying their assistant coaches for this next season a grand total of $15.3 million.
That's crazy.
Which their defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, I saw another graphic yesterday, he's making just over $3.7 million. That would put him at, if you combine NFL and college defensive coordinator salaries, he's number 3 on that list. There's a couple of NFL guys ahead of him. There's Steve Spagnuolo, who's won 3 Super Bowls at Kansas City. He has a lower salary than Matt Patricia does. Crazy, insane.
Yeah.
But they have, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 of their assistant coaches are making $1 million or more.
Hey,
Hey,
if you got it, do it. Huh? You know,
get you a natty, man. Apparently, money grows on trees when that happens.
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting. And I wanted to make a mention here because, again, I'm a diehard Texas Rangers fan, and I'm looking for some hope, Jack. I'm looking for some hope after the last couple of years. I'm sitting here in my office, and I'm not going to take down my World Series memorabilia that I've got hanging here, including the banner on my wall over here that I get to look at every single day to remind me that we indeed have one. And so I'm looking for little nuggets of things that give me hope. And I found one in Jake Berger, who is just lighting things up in the spring. As of yesterday, he's batting .333. He's got 3 home runs, 7 RBIs. His OPS is right at .667 with a slugging percentage of well over a 700. So, and all of that doesn't mean anything because in 2 weeks he can go into a slump and we can see what we saw last year. But I'm expecting Jake Berger to have a bounce back year that we were expecting last year and be a key in our lineup, which is good because we need it. We need some folks to bounce back on offense.
Yep.
And a little story about Jake Berger. He played college ball at Missouri State. My son Kobe was pitching at DBU, and he remembers Jake Berger very well. He had one of those forgettable days on the mound facing the soon-to-be drafted in the first round Jake Berger, who you know, my son is a happy accountant right now, and Jake has a lot to do with that. But anyway, he enjoyed that level of competition for sure. But Jake Berger, of course, has gone on to bigger and better things with the Texas Rangers. So anyway, just wanted to mention that. As again, it's the season of perpetual hope.
There you go.
And that someone can stand up to the evil empire that has become the Los Angeles Dodgers and take one. This segment coming up next is called This Date in Sports History, where we just kind of highlight some events and birthdays and dates of note in the world of sports. But on this day in sports history, Jack, did you know that the very first public basketball game was played? It was played on March the 11th of 1892. It was at the YMCA Training School in Springfield, Massachusetts, which is now known today as Springfield College. This game was organized by none other than Dr. James Naismith, who had invented the sport of basketball just about 3 months earlier. And this was they rolled out the new game on this particular day with students facing faculty. They were actually using, and this actually was a real thing apparently, they used peach baskets that were nailed to the gym balcony as goals, and they used a soccer ball because they didn't have a basketball yet, an actual ball. After every score, someone had to climb a ladder and retrieve the ball because they forgot to cut the bottom out of the peach basket, apparently. But when it was over, the students beat the faculty by this just earth-shattering score of 5-1. I don't know if that was actually 5 points traditionally or 5 baskets. I'm guessing probably 5 baskets, but the students won that one 5-1. And, of course, it has become today what we saw where, of course, last night, one Bam Adebayo scored 83 by himself. So anyway, this is literally the birth of basketball today.
I like it.
And this is a big birthday to note today, and it's kind of ironic, which is why I'm using. But in 1993, current Washington Wizards injured center Anthony Davis was born. It's 80's birthday today. He turns 33. Of course, everyone around here, if you're a Dallas Mavs fan, really knows Anthony Davis. He will forever be known around here as the guy which was traded to Dallas for Luka Doncic just a little bit over a year ago, February the 1st, 2025. He played the whopping amount of 29 games in about a year's time before he got traded to Washington last month. And look, and I've mentioned it on the show, I hold Anthony Davis no blame whatsoever for being the one in that trade. He didn't ask for that, and he certainly didn't ask for what came after that when he got here. And it was best for him and for everybody that this move happened. But I hold no ill will against Anthony Davis per se, other than the fact is that man's making a lot of money to do nothing.
To do that. It was funny, guys. I actually saw some video His parents videoed his first step, and he took 2 steps and sprained his ankle. It was crazy. It was the dangest thing, man.
Yeah, I mean, when all this, rescinded trade stuff was going on, apparently no one knew we could do that.
Yeah, exactly.
All the Mavs and fans start posting, "Hey, can we do that now?
Yeah.
Can we ask for our money back?"
Yeah, exactly.
Because of course, having his own problems now out in LA, I think they just should reset everything and let's go back to everything where, and I think everybody would be more happy.
There
Right.
you go.
Couple of notable deaths on this day, of course, in remembrance of these particular individuals. But on March the 11th of 2010, I know you know this guy, Merlin Olsen.
Yeah,
Merlin Olsen, Hall of Fame defensive tackle, who was part of the fearsome foursome from the 1962 to 1976. There with who was the fearsome foursome? What team, Jack?
the Los Angeles Rams.
Angeles Rams. Didn't win a Super Bowl at all, or didn't even go to a Super Bowl during that period, but they did have a pretty good defensive line headlined by Merlin Olsen, Deacon Jones, and a couple of other guys. But he passed away on this date in 2010 due to cancer. He was 69 years old, and of course, I remember him as well. I was a little young to kind of follow him by 1976. I wasn't really into NFL football that much. I was 7 years old. But he was kind of became somewhat of an accomplished actor. Little House on the Prairie, Father Murphy.
Yeah, sold the heck out of some flowers too. He was
he sure did, and just kind of when you hear him speak, he did. Of course, he got into broadcasting as well. Broadcast a few Super Bowls and had this very soft sounding voice, but people say, yeah, he was the driving force behind the fearsome of the foursome. And anyway, remembering Merlin Olsen's day. And then the last one today, staying in the football world in 2023 on this date, the legendary Coach Bud Grant passed away at the age of 90. Of course, he is best known as the only coach in Minnesota Vikings history to ever lead them to a Super Bowl, and he got them to 4. But he was the forerunner of the Buffalo Bills in the 70s. Folks, a lot of folks don't remember that, but the Vikings do have 4 Super Bowl appearances, and they're 0-4.
He had pretty good defense too. Purple people.
He did. The Purple People Eaters. Yeah. That's right.
Alan
of course,
Page,
he was standing.
Yeah,
that's right. He was standing on the other sideline, of course, during the infamous Hail Mary, which it's kind of funny. I have family up in Minnesota and Minneapolis, and to this day, if I want to get them going, I just send them the video of the Hail Mary. He pushed off. Yeah. I'm like, referee's standing right there, man. He didn't push off.
That's right.
Anyway, Bud Grant was the coach, and he passed away. Lived a good long life. He got to 95. Passed away in 2023. Okay, we've now come to the final word, Jack. Final word of the day comes from Philippians 4:13, which says, "I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength." This verse isn't about doing everything we want. It's about having the strength Christ gives us to endure, persevere, and remain faithful in every circumstance in life. Good to remember today. Well, he's Jack. I'm David, and we thank all of you Right Teamers for listening out there in East Texas and beyond. Listen, Jack, I want to thank you once again for sitting in. We're going to have you back, so just make sure your calendar's clear. But man, you provided the best as usual. You are, as they say, the man.
Appreciate it, man. Always enjoy it.
As a reminder, Matt will be back with us tomorrow, live and well from the heaven that he calls Little Rock, Arkansas. He's up there spending some time on spring break with his folks, but he will jump on the podcast with us in the morning and be back to talk some more really heavily college basketball. But for today, everyone have a wonderful Wednesday. Check us out again tomorrow for another daily episode of From the Press Box on the Right Team podcast. And until then, as always, keep writing your story.
This episode of the Right Team podcast is also brought to you by Stiles Electric. For over 25 years, Stiles Electric has been providing reliable, professional electrical installation and repair service all throughout East Texas and beyond. We specialize in industrial and commercial projects of all sizes. We are proud to be a part of our communities and schools here in East Texas. Contact us today at 903-236-2536. That's Stiles Electric, reliable, professional, and experienced.
connecting students to their passion and equipping them for their purpose. East Texas Baptist University is a Christ-centered institution committed to challenging and encouraging each student in mind, body, and spirit. With over 45 undergraduate programs and 14 master's degrees, ETBU's educational experience enables you to discover your purpose, find your path, and pursue your calling. Join the Tiger family today. It's not too late. Apply today at etbu.edu/apply.
Did you know that someone somewhere is talking about you? Yes, your school district, your business, your church, your nonprofit group is always the subject of a conversation somewhere. Maybe it's Facebook gossip, maybe it's talk around the water cooler, maybe it's written in a newspaper or a blog somewhere. At Right Team Services, we work with you to manage that conversation more effectively, to give all of your stakeholders an opportunity to hear your message. We help you create a culture of transparency in your organization that makes your customers and stakeholders feel comfortable as part of the story, and as a result, will help your business or school district become a more effective, trusted member of your community. Contact me today at rightteamservices@gmail.com to learn more about how Right Team can help you tell your story.